Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Like and subscribe.
Welcome to the Sit, Walk, Work podcast, a show about paying attention. My name is Dominic and I'm your host, and today is a guided meditation. And what you can expect is that the practice will open up with a brief recap, followed by the actual practice itself. If you find today's episode valuable, please share with your friends and family, and feel free to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. The show will begin after the following chimes. Today's practice was centered around the idea that everything kind of depends on how we look at it, aka our perspective we take on practice. Meditation is a place where you, over time, come to learn that to be deeply true. And so one of the ways we opened up practice was really wide with all of the objects, as you heard me call them. So those are your senses, your six gates as they're described in the practice. So touch, sight, sound, smells, hearing, or all of the things I said sounds, and then your mind. So it's all your five senses plus your mind, basically. And then we kind of sat there with that, just kind of let things be as they are and just notice how you responded to those things. And then I gave you a more directive, focused approach and moved your attention towards hearing the sounds around you. Started out close and then a bit wider, showing that we can move in these spaces that we're focused on. And then from there, we moved into feeling the breath or noticing the breath move through the body in that way. And I set us up to play with a bit of awareness, this kind of taking a step back and being the witness to all of these changing moments in our experience. And then we moved into, from the breath, we moved into just kind of feeling the body a little bit and noticing how all of these objects intertwine with one another and kind of work to make your experience happen. And yeah, and then kind of left us in a little bit of an open space. And that was a quick 30 minutes. So this is a non-physical movement practice. You'll be seated comfortably or lying down in a position that's going to let you be still and present for the next 30 minutes. The work we do here is a little more internal than external focused, but all of the practice components apply in both spaces. And so, with that being said, first thing I will direct your attention towards is your posture, making sure you have one that really accounts for a couple things: steady hands, a good breath, and as much comfort as you need. So, those are kind of the three things I would look for, or I'd ask you to look for in your posture. Are my hands in a stable place where they can rest and maybe be still? Can I take a good breath in, because a breath is an important part of the practice? And do I need anything else to make myself comfortable as I settle in for practice today? And with those kind of key points identified, I would ask you to close your eyes. Now, closing your eyes helps to direct your attention inwards. The awareness and the space that we practice and play in when we're doing this kind of work, it applies externally. But with the eyes closed, you kind of remove some of the visual distractions. If it doesn't feel safe to close your eyes, though, you can simply set your vision on a non-moving object slightly out in front of you and hold it there for the practice. Either one kind of can serve the same purpose, but it's anchoring you down. And this is kind of the foundation for where we start. for where we begin to explore and we begin to learn. And really, we begin to gain a perspective about ourselves and how things move through us and how we handle that. I'll open up today's practice with a quote from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And it says, there's nothing insignificant in the world. It all depends on how one looks at it. And that is true for our practice. When we sit down to practice, we're looking at what's happening within us. Now, this doesn't just apply to practice time, but for formal practice. We're noticing the perspectives we choose to take about whatever happens in our time together today. And the first thing I'll direct your attention to noticing is kind of everything. Instead of giving you a main anchor, if you will, just let your attention be wide. Be wide, be open, be welcoming to sounds and smells and taste and touch and breath. And even what even the coming and going of the thoughts that you're having. Part of the looking that we're doing is that we're taking it all in its totality, at least at first. The looking while suspending our judgments, our need to fix and change the standard protocols that we use for most things in our day to day, but simply just letting stuff be here. You can immediately be met. It can be met in a couple ways with openness and curiosity, or you might feel parts of you resisting that idea. One of the first things you also will notice is that with everything that's happening in the space of your awareness, it's changing, it's moving, it's here one minute and gone the next. A thought shifts, you feel a sensation in your body, or you notice your breath is paused and you're not really taking a full breath in. And then occasionally your attention gets grabbed, something holds on to it. And you notice how everything builds around it. Your breath and your body, all of it forms to the thing that you're holding on to and focused on. And in an instant, your mind can be captured by a distraction, by some other object happening in your field of awareness. And the thing about your attention is you can also hold it. You can hold it on any object. and build your focus and concentration in that, which is a vital part of your practice. One, it's being okay with all of the changing parts of the practice. And two, it's being able to focus when you need to. And so we're going to begin to focus our attention. And what I'd like for you to focus it on is the sounds in your environment. So you're opening your ears and your attention of what's coming into your ears. With the eyes closed, notice the distance of the sound. As if you're listening for the sounds that are closest to you and attempting to hold your attention there. First thing you might notice is that you don't have to do anything for a new sound to appear. Like it just naturally arises or AKA shows up. In that same vein, it changes on its own, has a different frequency. Even the silence has a sound to it. Now, when you're working to hold your focus, the sound is still not the only object in the awareness field. What was once okay just being there has now shifted and become a potential distraction, a pattern of thinking, a sensation in your body, even the way your breath moves, all kind of available to pull you away from the focus of sounds at any moment. When you recognize that the attention might have been captured by something else, the recognition is the win. And then you simply allow it to return back to hearing, allowing your attention that's been focused on sounds closest to you to open up wider and now begin to notice sounds that are further away in distance. If you're in a room, that might be something going on in the room next to you, or outside of your home, or further down the street if you happen to be outside. And the goal here is to see if you can invite in the opportunity for sound to get bigger. You're changing soundscape is one of a few anchors that you have to practice with. Now, I'd like for you to let your attention notice how this is all felt listening to these sounds. How does it feel to the body? What is your breath, or how is your breath moving? What's the commentary or the thought patterns you've had towards this idea of listening in your practice? This begins to give us a bit of insight to how these pieces kind of work in conjunction. In any given moment, a new object can take the center of our attention, but the rest don't really dissolve. They just slightly move to the background and they wait to respond based on how tightly we hold our attention. So, in this way, begin to let your attention release the focus of sounds and begin to direct it towards the movement of your breath. I like to think of focusing on my breath in a couple different ways. One, you can really lock your attention on noticing the point in which the breath starts and then expands out from there and following it through the course of its cycle. The other way that you can pay attention to your breath is by feeling it. So instead of noticing where the breath starts, drop your attention into the space in your body where you feel the breath moved in you, through you. And in the way that you listen for sounds, you feel for breath. The observation of your breath as an object, of sounds as an object, and you as the witness, kind of sitting in this space of awareness, watching this happen, is helping to put a bit of distance between you and the objects that occur. Sometimes our mind can begin to hold too tightly to these, and we start to think that we're these changing elements, losing sight of the fact that we're more of the awareness that holds all of this together than the stuff that is constantly changing within it. That is why I ask you to be easy when you're distracted, when you might be lost in thought, or you might be noticing a sound instead of watching your breath. Objects change, and so your attention sometimes is moved away from what you're focused on. You noticing that means you were watching, and all you need to do is return and begin again to observing the breath. Each moment is a new opportunity for us to kind of string together a moment of presence. And when you pull enough of these moments of presence together, you create the day, which creates the month, which creates the year, which ultimately creates our lifetime. But the only thing that you really influence is the moment you're in right now. Letting the attention slowly open up from the breath to letting the other elements that are present, sounds, sensations, allowing them in. as if you're letting yourself drop back just to be the witness or the observer, not judging it or changing it or pushing away from just the experience that's happening in front of you, yet holding it ever so lightly. Because of the nature of things, that they're subject to change. We come to realize that the things that we dislike in our practice, if allowed to simply be, over time will dissipate on their own. And the things that we love and the things that we enjoy and that we want to stay will do the same. So when they're present, we hold them with a little more presence. And when the discomfort arises, we're a little gentle with that because it too will move on. But for now, it's our job to observe. In the last minutes here of practice, bring your attention to any place in your body where you feel a strong sensation and allow yourself to hold it there and observe what arises as you do. Take a breath in and then let that breath go. Take another breath in and let that breath go. Take a third breath in. And as you release that breath, slowly let your eyes begin to open. As the eyes open, the external world enters your awareness, your space broadens even bigger, and you're kind of left with the residuals of the practice.
That's the beauty of it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I invite you to check out my Substack, where we are building a community of like-minded individuals to discuss all topics related to the idea of paying attention. I hope to see you there. But until then, with metta may you be well.